So our program tonight is something I have been wanting to do a long time. Um, in fact, I wanted to do it some years ago when there was this book called Streets and Sandman's Guide to Chicago Eats. But I hit them at the wrong cycle. But later on, so I'm really thrilled. So the moment I saw your name, Dennis, I immediately remembered this book, and I Googled to check myself and went, darn it, we're not missing him this time. I immediately contacted you. But meanwhile, a few years later, we had the Beat Cop's Guide to Chicago Eats. Um, they came for a Chicago Foodways Roundtable meeting. I did not know that these people were kind of comedians and did radio. It was quite the meeting. It was quite the meeting. It went off in directions I didn't plan it, but it was great. It was great. But tonight's topic is no ketchup, with Dennis Foley, our speaker tonight. And let me see, I'm going to put you as the spotlight to everyone. So his suggestion is that he will talk sort of different parts of area and then open for questions, then talk about certain other area and open for questions. And if he changes his mind, we'll just work with it. And if you have a question that you're thinking about, you could put it into chat while we're going. I think I covered all bases.
That sounds great.
All right, thank you.
Hey, everybody. And Kathy, I'd like to first start off just by saying thanks to you for putting this together. And everybody that's out there too, I appreciate you coming out to jump in on Zoom tonight, and we'll have some fun. I know, this is the fourth book that I've had, and typically we have a release party, and I always enjoy the release parties because, I'm from the Beverly area on the far south side. We tend to have them in a little pub somewhere and get a band to come out and play, and it's kind of turns into a big party, and we get a chance to have people grab a bunch of books, and it's a great time. Unfortunately, with coronavirus this year, that obviously didn't happen with this book. So I'm kind of looking at this as our release party here today. So we'll have some fun with it, and please fire away with questions that you have. Starting off, what I'd like to say first of all is, it might sound a little bit strange, but when I sat down to write this book, I wasn't intending to write a book about hot dogs at all. I have a memoir that I wrote, and also a novel. It's set in both of them are set in the city of Chicago. And I was working on another novel set in the early 1900s Chicago, centered around the old Dill Pickle Club that was around in the 15s, 20s, and it fell apart later on in the 30s. Had a good first chapter, and as I went into the second chapter, all of a sudden I went brain dead, and nothing was coming to me. So I went out that day and knocked down a couple of hot dogs, and then lo and behold, hot dogs. That's kind of how I got rolling on this. But what I'd like to do today to start off with is we'll talk some about dogs, and you guys can throw me, some of your suggestions about your favorite places. Maybe we agree, maybe we disagree. But when I wrote this book, when I researched, there's been the Chicago hot dog's been written about and blogged about a bunch. You can find stuff online of just about every, dog place going. And I wanted to have fun with the reviews, but my focus for the book was really to tell the stories about the mom and pop owners, because that's something I don't really feel was, that they weren't given their just due in, these writings, online and some of the other works. So I wanted to focus on those stories about these, somewhat iconic, hot dog stand owners. So in that light, what I'll do today is, and by the way, I do want to, not that I'm trying to push books here, but I have some freebies I'm giving out today. We're going to have there's a little quiz I'm going to throw at you. So we will give out a copy of No Ketchup. So when we get some correct answers on the quiz, I'll get an email from somebody after we're done, and I'll get a book to you. Another one of my books, The Drunkard's Son, we'll give that away as a copy. The novel, The Blue Circus, which came out 2 years ago, we'll give that away to somebody. And then there's a story collection here. I was fortunate enough to be one of the editors in this book, but we have pieces in here by people like Rick Cogan, Stuart Dybeck, And then a lot of additional great Chicago short story writers, essay writers, and poems. So we speak Chicagoese. So I'll be giving those away today a little bit later too. But, so continuing in this light, I'll talk a little bit about, some of those places, those some of my favorites, the places with the stories that kind of drew me in, those stories I wanted to share. So after I go through those for a little bit, feel free to fire away with questions at that time. And then I'll go into, some of the favorites and some of the other stuff surrounding some of these places. But I thought one of the interesting things that I found going to talk to these different mom and pop owners was how they came to, how they came into the business to begin with. What was it that caused them to jump in and say, hey, I want to run a hot dog stand. And what I found was kind of common in a number of these dog owners was it just happened by happenstance. And in this way, I'll start on the south side first and then move off there a little bit. But I like to call them the Fat Brothers. They're not related. There's Fat Johnny's, which it's at 72nd and Western. And it's been Johnny Polakowski. He's been serving hot dogs since 1968. Started on a cart first for a few years. Then he moved into, in 1972, his parents gave him and his brother the land there on Western Avenue to go ahead and open up their hot dog stand. Okay, and the other Fat is Fat Tommy, and he's in the Mount Greenwood area on 111th and Whipple on the corner there. So Johnny likes to say, one thing about him is I always think is kind of interesting when you go over to Fat Johnny's to order a hot dog. He's been out of commission a little bit. He's got 2 bad knees, so he's overseeing things, but he has a couple other people running the show right now. But when he's in there, you come up to the window, and it's a raised platform. So as you look in to order your food, you're really basically looking in at the gigantic belly of Fat Johnny. So I always thought that was kind of interesting. As you go there, you see this man, and he's got a lot of stories. But how did he come to open this place? He was a young buck. He had just come out of high school, and he was working at the Nabisco plant at 71st and Kedzie, and he had just started there. And lo and behold, there he is for a few weeks, maybe a month tops, and the drivers went on strike. So the whole place basically shut down, and he knew that the axe was about to fall. So some old timer that worked there with him told him, "Hey man, I've got a hot dog cart. You want to go ahead and buy it off of me for $150?" So that's how he got started. If Nabisco hadn't gone on strike with the drivers, we may not have a Fat Johnny's today. And it's become one of the, in my opinion, one of the best dogs in the city. I have it listed as the top dog on the south side. But, if that hadn't happened, maybe he's over there still working and getting ready to retire at Nabisco. But because of that strike, he went and opened up that dog stand at 69th and Damon, and then later moved into started up the stand at 72nd and Western. So then to the other Fat Tommy, and he basically, named the place as a bit of homage to Fat Johnny. He really liked the Fat Johnny dog, and so he went with Fat Tommy to kind of have that same magic working for him. But Dan Coogan and his buddy Tom Brakey, Dan's out skiing at some resort, little resort up in Wisconsin, and he falls down the hill and breaks both of his thumbs in both hands. And he's got pins and casts, and he can't do anything. He says, "What am I going to do? What am I going to do? I can't work." He was working, doing some blue collar work at the time, and he came up with the idea, a hot dog cart. So if this guy doesn't break his thumbs rolling down the hill after a fall in a slope in Wisconsin, he's not in the hot dog game. But that's how he came into play. Now, one story I wanted to tell you, and I tell you, it's a beautiful, beautiful place to go and visit. I know I had never really been out there. When I went out to these different hot dog stands that I went to, from my work with the city years ago as an electrician, I had gone to a lot of these places, but I went back to each one of them to go ahead and have another hot dog. I didn't go in and saying, "Hey, I'm writing a hot dog book. Let me have a hot dog." No, I went in, I go pay for my dog. I don't say anything. I take it outside, I eat it. And then if I liked the dog, I went back in with an information sheet about the book I was writing, and then was asking people for interviews. That's how the process kind of went. It was funny, the thing I'll say about Fat Tommy too, when I went in to see him and said, hey, I'm Dennis Foley. I said, I wrote the Streets and Sandman's book, and I'm doing a book on the hot dogs now. And his first words to me were, how come I wasn't in the Streets and Sandman book? So I said, hey, take it easy. Now you're going to be in this book, and don't worry about it. You'll be okay. But the story about this ride I was talking about, a lot of these places I said I had already known, and they were my old faithfuls. But I took suggestions from a number of foodie fanatics too, hot dog guys that I know, and I kind of trust their opinions. And that's how I kind of came to make a few discoveries. So one of these discoveries is a place called the Launching Pad in Wilmington. So about 15 miles south of Joliet. And I tell you what, it's a great place to just, you're going on Route 66, take a nice leisurely ride, and you end up at this place. They're temporarily shut down right now because of COVID. They have a lot of folks that work for them that are, up in their years. So until things kind of clear up, they've been mindful, and they're waiting to jump back in. But this is how they got into the hot dog game. So picture it's a young couple. They're not married. They're in their 40s. The gentleman's name is Tully Garrett, and his fiance is Holly Barker. So they wanted to go antiquing, and somebody suggested, oh, you should go to Wilmington. So they take off on this leisurely ride through, to head to Wilmington. And as they're getting there, and they come right into town, they see this, 28, 30-foot tall statue. It's one of the Muffler Men. They're right there at the edge of town. And there's a number of cars parked, and people are all out there, taking pictures of this guy. And he is the Gemini Giant. So he's one of the guys for people that are Route 66 buffs. People come in not only from other states and also parts of Illinois to come see him, but they have last year they had 126 visitors from other countries that came to eat at their place and to see the Gemini Giant. He carries that kind of fame on Route 66. So he's there, and they come up and they see this green man decked out with his astronaut helmet, and he's holding on to a rocket in his hands. And they stop, they pull over. And the place itself was closed, and it looked like it was about ready to be bulldozed. It had been closed for 5 years. So they go up and they talk to a few of the people and find out that one of them was visiting from England, someone else was from some other country. They talked to some other people that were from other states, and they thought this is pretty cool. And they left, went and did their antiquing. On the way back, they saw about 3 or 4 more cars there with more people taking photos of the Gemini Giant. So they got out and talked to him again. And then Holly walked over and took more of a peek inside the actual restaurant itself. And, as she said, it was spooky. It looked like it should be a scene from Jurassic Park. It was beat up. It looked like I said, ready to be bulldozed. And as I wrote about in the book, if that place was bulldozed, what happens to the Gemini Giant too? So at that point in time, they went home and they decided that we want to go ahead and buy this place. And that was the start of that process. That story in itself is cool enough, just that they went and kind of and now they brought this place back to its, glory days of it's a 1960s diner kind of place. It had been run by the Corlick family for over 40 years before the gentleman bought it and then let it fall on hard times. And then these guys came in and bought it. But the other part of the story that I really enjoyed was, hearing how, sometimes things happen for a reason, as they say. So these two people, both of them, their spouses passed away from cancer, and they were both grieving, and they didn't know each other at all. One person was up in Canada. The other person was here in the Joliet area. And they went to a grieving site online, and that's how they met each other, through this grieving site online. And from there, after a number of months of, sending stuff back and forth and getting to know each other, they decided to meet. and they hit it off, and got engaged. And the two of them, along with the three combined kids from both families, went in and did all the rehab work, a little bit of help from a contractor, but they went in and got this place up to the standards that they wanted, to where it looked like that diner from the 1960s again. So it's pretty cool. And Holly also, part of her thing is she runs a Grief Anonymous program online with over 100,000 followers, but she runs the program out of there. They have meetings there at the place once a week. Now they're temporarily closed, like I said, because of COVID. But I would thoroughly suggest any of you to take a nice ride there when this stuff clears up, and you want to get out and enjoy a nice sunny day in the summer, spring, or fall, and go there. It's a cool place to see. A lot of Route 66 paraphernalia inside. There's also a little mini museum in there as well, and the hot dogs in there are fantastic. I had a basic Chicago dog, and then I also had one of Holly's from Carolina. So she has a Carolina dog, which was Plowman's mustard, throw some slaw in there and some chili, and that was also outstanding. So cool place to see, and a cool dog. Now I'll hit on one more place, then I'll take a break, and and feel free to go ahead and we can throw some questions about before I keep going. But the other place I wanted to kind of talk about a little bit is, for people that are big time, into the food industry, this gentleman's name that I'm going to mention, he's a bigwig in Chicago. Hot dog people may not know him, but the gentleman's name is Kevin Hickey. Kevin Hickey has worked for like the Four Seasons, Ritz-Carlton, and places like, London and Dublin and, Beverly Hills, California, Chicago here. And now he's the owner of the Duck Inn. And the Duck Inn is situated on the south side on the northern edge of Bridgeport. And it's right about like 20, come over a bridge, over a hill there over the Chicago River. And it's like 27th or so, 28th in Morgan. Okay. It's right on the corner. And I have his place I have listed as having the best specialty dog in Chicago. It's really not an ordinary hot dog. I mean, it's a step above everything because, it also costs $10. But if you go there during happy hour, it's $5. So I like the happy hour discount. And they have some good cold beers there too. Right now with COVID, they're not doing they're not doing the happy hour pricing because they're letting in limited numbers of people. So the full price stuff, I certainly understand that. But later on, when you're out there, it's a cool place to stop in and get a reduced price on a dog, save a few bucks, and have a few cold beers or something too. But so this dog is longer. It's made out of one of the ingredients that it has in there, kind of like the name of the place itself, is it has some duck fat in there. And that duck fat combined with the beef and the rest of the ingredients, and then the toppings that he puts on top of it, along with a long bun. It's a big hot dog, and it is unbelievable. I mean, it's specialty dog. So when I say what's the best dog in Chicago, I go with one of the Chicago dogs. But, a specialty dog is probably over and above that. And it was the best hot dog that I've ever tasted. So at the Duck Inn. And Kevin, his history, after all that traveling and working in these different places and, having this great reputation for, being a great chef, he wanted to open up his own place. And I was like, well, how come you did it in Bridgeport? Why didn't you go to some nice place up north or go downtown? He says, well, he wanted to return to where his family was from. So he actually lives on the same block that he grew up on. He has one son, and he wanted him to be surrounded by family more. And then he also said, hey, one of my family members had owned a place called the Duck Inn in the late 1800s. And it was just a little shop that they had, and he wanted to keep that name going and to keep the family tradition going. And that's how he came to open this up. As for the dog itself, how did he come to go ahead and put this hot dog together? During the Crosstown Classic, when the Cubs and Sox were playing each other back about 5-6 years ago or so for for a fundraiser benefit. He put together, the hot dog. Okay, so the duck and dog, it wasn't called that at the time. He just put together his version of the Chicago dog, and it was such a hit that everybody was raving about it. And so when he asked if they could have have that dog put on the menu at the Ritz at the time, and as he likes to say, the European hotelier boss said no, it's beneath us. So he would not allow it to go on the menu. When that gentleman left, it went on the menu. It was a huge hit again. And when Kevin left to open up his own shop, he brought that with him. That was part of his brand, and it's become a hit there as well. The duck is pretty darn good too, but that hot dog is fantastic. Well, I'll quit yakking for a little bit and be glad to hear from some other folks if you have questions. And I see a couple of things popping up here on the chat. I can take a peek too. So yeah, one is if you can repeat the name of the joint in Wilmington, and that is that is the Launching Pad. Yeah, my bad. It's called the Launching Pad. And you can't miss it when you come in there because you'll see the Gemini giant standing up there. Pretty cool to see.
This is Mark Reitman from Vienna Beef's Hot Dog University. Can you hear me?
Hey, Mark, I'm a proud graduate of your program.
I know you are. And you know what? So are Tully and Holly. They came
right.
and they knew nothing about hot dogs. And I am so extremely proud of what they've done in a short amount of time.
Yeah, they're really nice people and a great story. And I hope, like I said, once this COVID stuff slows down, that they get things going again too.
I look forward. I haven't had the opportunity to go out there yet, but I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I know, when I was talking with them too, they said that they had also talked with, your buddy Murph too. Murphy was kind of working with them as, giving them some advice too.
But I think, Mark, you need to, so Mark teaches Hot Dog University at Vienna Sausage, right?
Yes.
And I hope someday maybe we'll come back and talk to us about it. And by the way, I want you to know I am wearing the Hot Dog Hall of Fame t-shirt.
I saw. You must have gotten that from Bob Schwartz, my roommate.
Did. Okay. I sure did. I sure did.
The Hot Dog University that Mark runs, it's a 2-day program. I attended it this year. COVID had just kind of slid in, so Mark went and put together the program, and we covered things in one day because there was no visit to go to the plant to see things in action the following day due to COVID. But it was a great way, being a lover of hot dogs, to get the background, the information. It really helped me with the book. And then also too, as I tell my wife, I said, hey, you know what, don't be surprised. I said, one day I'm going to go out there and open up a hot dog stand. So I come from a family of electricians. I'm also, I worked as an electrician for 9 years. I also worked as a, Cook County Assistant State's Attorney. My background was in law, and then a defense attorney. And I kind of, burnt out on that aspect. And I went on to go back to the family trade for 9 years before, when I had kids go to college, I had to go earn a few more bucks. So I went back to, working in the law practice again. But, my goal at some point is I went to school down in Memphis, is to go back to Memphis one day and chill out and open up a hot dog shack down there. I think it would go over great. And I know getting the programs from Mark with the Hot Dog University would be very helpful.
Thank you. And we look forward to your success, because it'll be our success.
Well, thanks, Mark. I see another question here. And Ingrid has the put in here to everybody the Gemini Giant email there, or the web page. And are you aware of the history of Flukies? And that's from
Merle. That's me.
Merle. Yeah, Merle, go ahead.
I grew up with Flukies.
Yeah, I know a little bit about Flukies, and I know that there's still, I guess, one that's still kind of going out at
Walmart. At Walmart in Niles on Toohey Avenue. They have a little section, but I believe it was some workers who had bought it out, and they're running it. But they have other things now. But Flukies goes back a long time. I think they might have been on the west side of Chicago originally. That's too far back for me. But I remember going to Flukies quite a bit in the 60s and 70s at Pratt and Western in Chicago.
Sure. Yeah, and I know, as far as like the history going back to, I mean, I went and dug up and familiarized myself with some of the, the history of the hot dog, in order to, get that appreciation as I went out to talk to the people that were working the stands. But, the whole process of 1893 and the hot dog kind of, jumping in at the Chicago World's Fair, getting its first little chance to make itself known here. But and then we had the Depression style dog, which many places still serve today. My understanding was that it was maybe Mark can chime in on this too, that it was Flukies that kind of came up with some of those Chicago 7 ingredients that made the dog.
Well, a hot dog in those days, I guess, was a poor man's supper, but it was good.
Right.
Yeah, they were one of the first hot dog stands to use our neon green relish back in the early 70s.
Yeah, I know there's an association between Vienna products and Flukies. You used to see the big signs with the Frankfurter all the time, Vienna hot dogs, with the spear in it. So I'm quite aware. Thank you.
Yep. And let's see here. We've got Anne wants to know, what makes a great hot dog in your opinion? One of the things I mentioned in the book is to me, and everybody's different, and I've had a lot of people say, oh, you're like the ketchup police. What's up with the ketchup? And I said, no, I mean, I'm really not the ketchup police. I thought it was a fun title of the book. I don't like ketchup on my hot dogs. I'm more of a Chicago purist. But I also, and I would tell people, I said, hey, here's the deal. I said, when I went and attended Hot Dog U, as Mark was explaining that when I was there online with him, is that, if you put those Chicago 7 ingredients, I was calling them Magnificent 7 in the book. But if you put on the mustard, the onions, the relish, the tomatoes, the pickle, the sport peppers, and dust it up with the celery salt, if you put all that on there and then you add ketchup to it, what Mark was saying at the Hot Dog University is it gives it far too much acidity that makes it too sweet. And, that's, if I'm around the house and I just happen to boil up a dog or I cook one on the grill, I might put a little squirt of ketchup on a plate, just, take the dog and dip it in and eat it. And to me, that's fine. But if I'm putting it on a bun, I'm not throwing ketchup on there. I'm sticking with those Chicago 7, the Magnificent 7 ingredients. So what makes a really good hot dog? Well, yes, to me, having those ingredients. But when I go get a hot dog, I go and get 2. I get one with everything, and I get one with no relish, just to have a couple different flavors going. And so I like it, the bun has to be steamed. That's huge to me. I prefer poppy seed, but if it's a regular bun, I'm okay with it, but it has to be steamed. I like the feel of that bun. It gives it much, gives it a better flavor, but it can't be overly steamed where it's melting or anything either. But it also, I do prefer a dog with snaps, so the encased dog as opposed to the skinless dog. But I can, enjoy both types of hot dogs as well. But then putting those, it can't be sitting in the steamer for too long where it starts to turn rubbery either. You need to toss those dogs out. You get a fresh dog that's steamed with a steamed bun and put those ingredients on it. That's getting you on your way to a good dog. But the other part, in my opinion, is almost a little psychological. I like coming into a place that has some cool colors, that looks like a cool hot dog place. A place like, if you're familiar with up on the north side, Badaki's over at, just off of Lawrence and Damon. It's got the red and yellow shack going. It just has a cool look to it. Even on the south side, Fat Johnny's is a beat up old shack, but it has a cool look to it because you're coming up to it and it's just white with stuff painted all up and signs on there. It kind of gives that good vibe that makes eating a hot dog even better. And then if you have a mom or pop owner that's there and, that you get the chance to chat with them and have a little fun, I think that also adds into the mix too. Taking a look at another.
By the way, somebody mentioned Fat Johnny's and mentioned the mother-in-law. Have you had
the mother-in-law? When I go to Fat Johnny's, I almost always just get the hot dog. But on occasion, I'll go ahead. I don't do the mother-in-law, but I'll go ahead and do the mighty dog. Okay. And the mighty dog is, taking your bun, putting a tamale in there, splitting the tamale in half, throwing the dog in there and in that split tamale, and then doing the chili and cheese over that. And
By the way, we have somebody, I hope he agrees to unmask himself. I didn't talk to him before, but Peter Engler, he's the one who documented the mother-in-law.
Oh,
It's
okay.
now been, and he's here today. Do you want to say something, Peter?
Peter,
Please.
are you there, Peter?
He's here. Maybe he's not in his computer. I don't know.
Maybe I put him to sleep already.
Oh, I don't think so. I don't think so. In fact, he wanted to talk to you about the cover of your book.
Yeah. You know what? What was kind of cool on this book, guys? So the other 3 books that I wrote were published by 2 different publishing companies, both of them here in Chicago.
Okay.
On this book, this is a self-published book. I was sitting there going, should I go back to one of the other publishers and ask them to do it, or should we go here? And I had a little bit of interest from one of my old publishers, but the time frame was just going to take so long that by the time you go and get the book ready, the pricing on the hot dogs have already changed a bunch. Maybe some stands have closed. So I said, you know what, this is the perfect kind of book just to do on my own and self-publish it. And then my son Patrick did the cover. He's a graphic design graduate from St. Norbert College up in De Pere, Wisconsin. He's working, as many of the Foleys have, as an electrician now. But he does book design in his spare time. So I thought he did a real nice job on this cover.
And he did, but he missed one little detail. I'm representing Peter Engler on this. He's not able to come on. He just sent a note. But it's not a natural casing hot dog.
Yeah, and also there's
and he noticed. I'm looking at the book. I don't know. It's like, look at that.
It doesn't have the neon relish, and it also has cucumbers on there too.
Yes.
So, and that's fine. But and he went with that because that was the dog that I chose. So I gave him that dog to use because I didn't want to do Vienna beef. I love Vienna beef. That's my favorite brand. But I didn't want to have something that looked too much like that Vienna beef hot dog that we all know and see, because I didn't want it to be any problems with, hey, you're using our product. So I went with something a little bit different. And then he went with the cover from there. And I had a couple people give me some flack about the dog on there. They also wanted to know, hey, whose hot dog is this? And I said, I will never disclose this fact. So. Really?
So does that mean it's not in your 50 hot dogs?
Well, I can't really say at this point, so.
Oh, okay. Well, perhaps you want to just move on to the next round, and then we can always add these questions later.
Yeah, okay. And I did not see this. Okay.
Well, okay, and we'll come back, Jill. We will mention stashes before the evening's over because I have something to say about that.
Yeah. So
can I say one thing about stashes?
Sure.
I remember before Stash moved to Highland Park, he used to have the hot dog stand in Albany Park, Mutt and Jeff.
Yes. And who was his partner?
Lefty Rosenthal.
Right. And do you want to remind people where we have seen Lefty Rosenthal?
Casino.
Right. And Casino. It was the Robert De Niro character who, when he turned the key and blew up, that was Stash's former partner. I wished I knew about that when he was alive and kicking, because I would have loved to have asked a few questions about what was it like to work with a partner. I mean, did you know the partner, Mark?
No, I had never met him. It was before my time working with Vienna.
Yeah, that's that. And the thing is, I'm of the age where I never went to that hot dog stand because it was too little. Mm-hmm. Or not big enough or something. Anyway, go on, Dennis. Go on to the next segment.
I'm going to go ahead and throw out there my little hit list of my top 5 places, north, south, and just so folks know, I didn't, when I was on WGN with Bob Surratt, and he was kind enough to put a plug on the back of the book. And as he said on there, hey, keep this book and, you'll never go hungry in the city. How about an all suburban edition next? I didn't really go into the suburbs much because my focus was the city. I did hit a few places just because those were some of the recommendations that I got. That's how I kind of came across a place like the launching pad out there in Wilmington. Yeah, so I'll talk about, like I said, the Chicago focus, but I'll hit on my top 5 north, south, suburban, and then the specialties. And as I kind of go through the list, I'll throw a few items out there that really kind of stood out to me. And also maybe something about the place that's a few of them that's a little bit unique. So, yeah, on the north side, I have Wolfie's is my number 1. Wolfie's over on Peterson and right about California. Byron's. Byron's at one point has, had as many as 4 or 5 different dog stands over the years. Right now they have 2. The one that I typically go to is just around the corner from Wrigley Field over on Irving Park and Sheridan. It's right below the L stop there. And then the other one that Mike Payne has is over on Lawrence and 1 block west of Ashland. Now, I'll say this about Byron's. That, in my opinion, is the ultimate drag it through the garden hot dog. As he said, when he went to work with, Byron, the original owner, the 2 of them formed together. Mike had been a delivery man he was a young guy on a milk truck, and he got to know Byron at the place that he owned, and he told him Byron said he wanted to open up a hot dog joint, and Mike told him that, hey, I worked for Hasty Tasty years ago. And that's how, when they opened the place up, Mike was the one that pushed the drag it through the garden approach because, in addition to those magnificent 7 ingredients, he also has lettuce, green pepper, and then also, both, not just dill spears, dill pickle, but also regular pickle. When I go there, I tell them to put everything on there except for the lettuce. I'm still not putting lettuce on my hot dog. And when I say they drag it through the garden, if you hadn't had a Byron's dog, they basically put a salad on top of your dog. So what I do, I'm one of those guys, then I'll pull off stuff and put it on the side and get to the dog and the kind of stuff I like the most and eat it. And then I'll eat the green pepper and the cucumbers and the pickles and then the dill pickle on the side. It's, like $3.75 for a dog, and it's a complete meal right there. So that's the number 2. 3 is a famous old place that doesn't need us to say much about it. Super Dog. Super Dog could easily be number 1 everywhere. The reason why I had it as a 3 is just it's a different kind of hot dog. It's really not it's a bigger dog, and it's also up there in the $6 plus range. So
the green tomato.
Yeah, and it's a little different. It's a great dog, but I kind of went with the other guys first and second because theirs are a little bit more kind of like Chicago doggish. Yeah, and after that, there's a place right over by DePaul called Bronco's Sandwich Shop. A great lady runs the place. I have one of my favorite chats when I was sitting down with somebody, going through these interviews, but talking with, her name is Anja Bronco. She's same age as I am. I just turned 60. She's right there. She, the place right now it's unfortunately, it's not permanently closed. She's also on a hold. The reason being is, she runs the shop all by herself, and she'd be fine continuing to do that. But she also cares for her 2 elderly parents that are in their 80s, and they live in the apartment above the shop. So right now her focus is staying with her parents and keeping them COVID free and not, working the shop and bringing stuff up to them. So they're temporarily closed. But yeah, that family came over from Yugoslavia. She is one of the hardest working persons I've ever seen, and such a pleasant woman to talk to. Sat me down, gave me a cup of tea in the back room, and would jump out to handle orders. But what I really liked about it was, being by DePaul, walking distance right across the street. Obviously a lot of students come in. She befriended a lot of students over the years, students that continue to come back and see her because she treats them. She has 2 children of her own, but she gets to, as she says, I can see the problem children, some people that have something bothering them. I can see that. And she gravitates more towards those people, brings them in and kind of helps them and tells them, hey, I want you to call me mama. So that's what my article about her about in the book was. Here's this lady who, kind of weaves her magic on these kids and helps them get through school. She also grades papers for them and, gives suggestions on rewrites and things like that. So she's a very cool lady. Broncos was number 4. And I mentioned Budaki's. That was my number 5 on the north side. That's the place over on Lawrence, right on Damon, right off of Lawrence. On the south side, in the book, I'm going to read this little quote just to be silly here. But in Fat Johnny's, I started off with, "Oh, Fat Johnny, how I love thee. Let me count thy ways." Billy Shakespeare. Okay, so I had a little fake quote there from William Shakespeare. Fat Johnny's is my favorite dog on the south side. Everything is always fresh. The ingredients, he's had stuff good going for 50 years now. Don's is my number 2, which is at Kedzie and 78th Street. Fat Tommy's that I mentioned, with the gentleman that broke his thumbs in a skiing accident, number 3. Great hot dog, but I highly recommend trying his Ditka or Butkus. If you ever make the pilgrimage to Mount Greenwood, tell him you want the Ditka or Butkus, and here's what you'll get. Here's the difference. He's going to go ahead and put a bacon wrapped Polish sausage, throw it in the deep fryer for about 5 minutes, 6 minutes, pull it out, put it in the bun, give it a shot of mustard, throw some caramelized onions on there, okay, and cheese, and that's the Ditka. And then if you want the Butkus, he's going to throw chili on top of it. Now that is a heart attack sandwich right there, and I love it. It's a great one to try. My number 4, unfortunately, is a place that just recently closed. It's sad, but Dan's over on 94th and Ashland. All these places, most of them are places that are in the Vienna Beef Hall of Fame. And I know Dan was really excited. Well, he just went into the Vienna Beef Hall of Fame probably 3 years ago, but now, the place is closed up. So hopefully something reopens, for him later. And then my 5th favorite place is a place I just went to 2 days ago on the south side, Skyway Dog House. Okay, right at the corner of 95th and Ewing over on the east side of Chicago. I'm going to just skim through a couple of the others, but I do want to give you one of my favorite new discoveries. This is a place I didn't know anything about. So picture this, one of the things I was fortunate enough to do over the years, I taught a high school English, creative writing, and law for 6 years at St. Lawrence High School. And the president of our school is a gentleman named Tom Angela, very distinguished, just pious man that really worked hard. And of course, I had to tag him with a nickname. I used to, here's this, higher up guy, but I got to have a little fun with him. I called him the Penguin. I said, hey, you're not the Burgess Meredith Penguin. You're more the Danny DeVito Penguin. But he calls me up one day when he found out I was doing the book. And he said, you got to try Henry's over in Cicero. So part of what could be a cool ride, that's Ogden Avenue at about Austin. So, one day you could do the Henry's on Ogden, which is Route 66, start there, have a dog, and then weave your way on out to Wilmington about an hour and 20 minutes later and go have another dog out there at the launching pad. But what he does at Henry's, the owner, Tony Rotolo, real nice gentleman. He has his dogs that are made at a place in Michigan, pursuant to his ingredients, the way he wants it. But what he took me down into the basement and showed me. I said, the flavor on here is very different. I said, what is it? Is it just the different ingredients? He goes, no, let me show you. And he took me down into the basement, and there was this, it looked like a furnace, but it had arms going all over the place. It's a steam generator. So he said that he can cook a hot dog in 7 seconds, rather than leaving it lay in a steam table all day where it can get rubbery and discolored. He goes ahead and the dogs have that flavor from his ingredients, and it also is always fresh because they can cook it as they get their orders too. And it really made a difference. I thought it was pretty cool that he had this. So that's Henry's over there in Cicero. Pretty cool find. He would also be one of those guys that, came into the hot dog game by chance. He didn't have any intention to become a owner of a hot dog place. His dad was buying the place from Mr. Henry, and then his dad died. So Mr. Henry offered it to the son, Tony, who was only 25 at the time. And he said, okay, yeah, I guess, I'll buy the hot dog stand. So that's how he came into it. Sadly enough, his father died and he jumped into the hot dog game. So now it's been 30 years and he's got a good thing going.
Isn't Henry's the one that has like a big hot dog?
Yeah, it has a really cool neon sign there.
Yeah.
And it says, it's the hot dog going up, I think a sprinkle, like a couple of fries, and it says a meal in itself. And that's what it has lit up in the neon there. Yeah, neat spot. So the last place I'm going to throw at you is, I'll throw two at you, but another specialty dog, kind of a cool place. It's in Bridgeport called Kimski. So it's what's going on there. It's a mixture of Polish and Korean food. So the Kopo. So it's a specialty dog, bigger bun. They put the Polish in there and they put the kimchi and the spices on there, and just has a great flavor. It's a kind of an interesting place because if you don't like music and kind of loud music, because you go get your dog, if you go sit in the back, the walls are shaking, it's rocking in there. So if you don't want that, you'll get your dog and sit up front by the window that overlooks the street. You can eat in a little, it's a bit quieter, but it's a neat little spot. And, and then his brother owns a little brewery right down the street about a half a mile away. So you can go have a dog there, a Polish there, and then run over the Marzuski brothers and go to Mars Brewery just down the street in Bridgeport and go try a couple craft beers. So the last spot I was going to mention, and Mark Reitman may know a little bit about this guy too, but this is the hot dog stand itself has been around for a little bit. And it's, a place called Doug's out in Oak Forest. And the reason why I'm bringing this place up, it's kind of cool when you see a young guy jump into the mix. They wrote about him as one of the, people that they mentioned in the Sun Times article. His name is Nick Versetto. He's a 37-year-old guy that looks like he could be a high school senior. He has one of those little baby faces. And he had already kind of made his mark flipping houses and working in the baking industry, but he always wanted to open a hot dog stand. So he bought Doug's Dogs in October and went ahead and pushed the products that they had there away and went back to Vienna Beef and got Vienna Beef products and lowered the prices to give people more of a value and did fresh cut fries and all that. But it's good to see a young guy who's coming in and he's doing it the right way and he's got a really good dog. So when you go there, it has the place itself has Lady Liberty up on the roof. And so as you're coming down 159th Street in Oak Forest, you can see Lady Liberty looking out at you. You're getting close. And he just put a new addition on, and it's a neat spot that it's changing over. He's going to call it Nicky V's. So it's in that process now, but another place worth checking out too. But how about, Kathy, what do you think? Jump back to some more questions?
And actually, if you don't mind, entertain a question I have, and it's not on your 50 best. And maybe you don't know much about it, but there's these Bozo hot dog stands. I see them on the South Side. I see them in Northwest Indiana, and it's some of the worst hot dogs I've ever had. Sorry.
Well, you know what I did, we could have fun talking about some bad hot dogs too, because in this book people are saying, oh, you gave everybody 3 or 3.5 or 4 stars. I said, yeah, because I wrote about the good ones. It wasn't my mission to beat up the bad places, but there were
it's not my effort to be mean, but it's puzzling how it continues to exist.
Yeah, and I had a few places like where I went, and I was like, you got like a buddy of mine. It was a foodie, one of my trusted foodie guys told me to go get a dog at this place, and I was like, that thing was god awful. And not only that, but the guy went to put it in the microwave to heat it up.
Oh no!
Don't send me to a place where they're going to heat up my hot dog in a microwave. So, and then it didn't help matters when I walked outside the door and a little rat followed me back to my car. That place definitely did not make it into the book. But yeah, you want me to pick up a couple questions here?
Okay. But by the way, now what about is Jim's Original on your list?
Yeah, so Jim's Original's on there, yes, as is his next door neighbor, one of the family members from years ago, Express Grill. And what I did there with Jim's, and I think they both have interesting stuff. But what I did there is I didn't go Polish because I think that's probably what they're both known for more.
That's what I love.
I did a dare to compare with the hot dogs, one versus the other, who was better. That's the only comparison I really did in the book. I just thought it was fun, going on and discovering a few more things. And what I found out, it was kind of interesting too, is I went with Express Grill next door. I mean, and if you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. But they're literally about 45 feet apart.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Family members that have warred over stuff over the years. And I went, Jim's is one that probably is more well known, but with the dare to compare, I gave the nod to Express Grill. They're both in the Vienna Beef Hall of Fame. But what I noticed that day is, hey, Express Grill has Vienna plastered all over the place, and Jim's didn't. And I kind of noticed the dog tasted a little different. And what the Express did is put a little something else on there. They threw a little instead of just the Maxwell style mustard and onion, they threw some relish on there too. And I thought Express's hot dog was better. That was.
Can I make it just a quick aside about Jim's Original? I went there the first time when it was still Halstead and Maxwell Street. And this was an era, I went with my parents. It was Culinary Historians did a tour. And I have to tell you, when I parked the car, I kind of said goodbye to the car because I wasn't sure I would see the car again. There was all these dilapidated buildings. And, then there's the panhandlers, right?
Yeah,
but
sure.
As we took this tour, we learned all the dilapidated buildings were owned by the university. And they let them get worse because they wanted to prove that they wanted to rehab the neighborhood. The panhandlers, yes, they were there, but they were also kind of like the security. And they had to have good behavior because if they didn't, they couldn't panhandle there. Mm-hmm. Then we went into the back room and they had these barrels and they had this guy come in like one day a week and just peel onions so they would have fresh onions. And they showed us how they pickled their own peppers there. Okay. So I actually, when I go, I usually get the Polish with the mustard and the onions, and I get the peppers wrapped separately to bring home to my dad, who puts them on his hot dogs. That's how we deal with Jim's.
Yeah. A little something extra for dad, huh?
Absolutely, and he's listening. He's probably thrilled.
Well, you know what? How about if we do? How about if we go like this? I'll go through a few more questions, and
sure.
Then I'll do a couple of questions from the quiz, and we'll give out some books to people. How's that?
Okay, and maybe somebody wants to say something more. We'll find out as we go.
Anybody else have something right now?
If somebody just want to unmute yourself and say something, that would be just fine.
Yeah, and by the way, somebody has something on here with a great point too. What about Gene and Jude's? Yeah, Gene and Jude's is listed in there as one of the top 5 suburban dogs. Gene and Jude's been around forever. Great dog. You go there and it's like an assembly line. They do it. Boom, they get you in, and you're getting a good dog, no doubt, with the Depression style with the fries on there. So yeah, I'm a lover of Gene and Jude's. I actually had them listed as my 3rd in the suburbs. And the reason for that simply is, the other places that I have on there, I had a launching pad ahead of it because I prefer that Chicago style dog. And, Gene and Jude's has the Depression style, fewer ingredients. And then I also listed Henry's just because Henry's was so unique with that steam generator. But Gene and Jude's is a fabulous dog.
But Gene and Jude's, you cannot get a packet of ketchup. And there's that McDonald's next door.
Is that wrong, Kathy? Is it wrong to not get a packet of ketchup?
No. But I think the McDonald's next door, they would tell them go next door to McDonald's to get the ketchup. And now they will charge you for the ketchup. They know what the scheme is.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Let's see.
I got a question.
Yeah. What's up?
Hi. My question is regarding when stands will make their own peppers, their own hot peppers, their own sport peppers. I don't really know which ones do, but like you can definitely tell the difference versus like just a normal bottled Vienna beef sport peppers, for example. I think of Jimmy's on Grand.
Sure.
They have phenomenal peppers. They're like the longer sport peppers. And then also, Jim, 1 second, honey. Jim's original, I think, they have their own peppers, and like I love spicy peppers, but those ones are almost unbearably hot every time. I still get it, but it's unbearably hot. So I want to know if you had any joints that yep, they make their own peppers, and it's one to go check out.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, when you mentioned that, like about Jim's original, yeah, when I eat this peppers there too, I take a bite of the pepper and I have to like throw a couple fries in them too to kind of absorb some of that heat. Chomping on a couple French fries helps, but no, I don't. I really don't have places that I was distinguishing with that had made their own. When it comes to the peppers, I'm a little bit weird with my peppers. They throw a couple on there, 2 or 3. I usually take 2 off, eat one on the side. And then what I like to do is, something I kind of learned from going to Hot Dog University is, I just take a bite off the tip of the pepper and then squeeze the juice along the hot dog, so I still get that flavor but avoid some of the heat, because after I eat one pepper, I'm kind of hiding from the rest, and I just want that flavor from the juice. So that's what I kind of do there.
I have something to add about peppers from Hot Dog U. Anytime first of all, the peppers that we use at Vienna are all called sport peppers, and they are grown only in fields in Mexico. What happens is sometimes when there's too much rain, the peppers enlarge in size 2 and 3, 4 times of their regular size. And when they do, those are called Mexi sports, MEXI sports. And those are like 20 times the heat of the regular smaller pepper. So if you go into a hot dog stand and they have like a mutant pepper on it, get ready to get your mouth burned. We had them, we had a series of them many, many years ago. We had to put a disclaimer on the 2 and 5 gallon pails saying, these are Mexi peppers and they're way hotter than the regular sport pepper that we're getting from Mexico. But you're right. I'm happy you learned that by squeezing the juice out of the pepper without the seeds or any of the skin, you get the full flavor of the pepper without any heat. And that was taught to me by Jim Bodman, the owner of Vienna Beef, the guy who hired me. I had no idea when I first started working there because sport peppers are too hot for me.
Sure. Let's see. And John has a note on here just saying a hot dog has to be paired with good fries to make my list. That's a good point. I mean, fries are, very important to me as well. I don't really go to a couple like a Fat Johnny's, for instance, doesn't offer fries. So, so I'll just get the hot dogs there. But, I typically want to have good fries with it. And it does make a huge difference. I mean, it kind of makes it more of a meal and makes it more enjoyable. So it's a good point there, John. Anybody else questions? Otherwise, we can go to the quiz.
Can you talk about what places might be actually open now? You are making me so hungry for a Chicago hot dog.
Depending on where people are, I like to say, the go-tos, where you're at in different areas of the, city or the burbs too. It's funny, like by me, Fat Johnny's closes down at about 6. If I'm going to go get a nearby hot dog, I'm going there. But if I'm, if you wanted to go to Henry's in Cicero, that place is open later, and you can go there and get yourself a hot dog still, Kathy. You can go ahead and you can listen to the debate on the radio and go get yourself a hot dog at Henry's. I have a son that lives up near Loyola in Rogers Park, and I like to go ahead when I like my ride along Lakeshore, and I'll jump off and I'll go grab my Byron's dog, because it's right there, not far from Lakeshore, get back on and head up, or just go down Sheridan. So, not too far away from you, but you would probably go to Stosh's, right, Kathy? Am I muted?
Ashes isn't open anymore.
I know that one, sadly. But last year was the sesquicentennial for Highland Park, and we had a um, a sign devoted to stashes. But in order to, I hope I didn't accidentally knock it out, which looks like I did. Um, well, anyway, stashes. Here was one of the reasons why I wanted stashes, because back in the early 1970s, somebody's got some music going. I hope that's not me. Okay, Ingrid, you'll be on next. Um, back in the early 70s, there was a magazine, it's now called Chicago Magazine, but before it was Chicago Guide. And they had an article on like the 10, 15 best hot dogs in Chicago. And Stosh's came in third, and they got this little bronze hot dog, which was on there. So when we were doing the sesquicentennial, I says, I want to mention, this award, this honor that Stosh's got in the early 70s. Nobody remembered it except me, it seemed. I contacted Bob Schwartz at Vienna, and he remembered the article. In fact, it was a Highland Parker who wrote the article. But he says, but I don't remember about Stosh's, but I think it was like Flukies or Wolfies that came in first place that time. But I know Stosh's was third. And then I kind of started digging around, and I found the Sun. But nowadays nobody has a landline, so it's not like you go to the telephone book. But I did find his address and knocked on his door, and it was like, "Who's there?" And I was like, "It's the Highland Park Historical Society. Are you related to Stosh's?" And I felt, oh my God, I needed that gingham dress, and I needed a little basket. I don't know. It was just, or maybe I should wear a costume. But anyway, he affirmed what I knew, that Stosh's had definitely won this award, because everybody else, I was beginning to think I was crazy, but I remember the award, and he gave us a picture of it and some other things. And when they had the first Hot Dog Hall of Fame, Stosh's was in it. So my recollections were sound, and it's a proud moment. I know we have other hot dog stands in Highland Park, but this was the one that resonated with me the most. So
Sure.
It was my project, so there you go.
And what year did Stosh's shut down?
2012. He had sold it to somebody else, and they were, there was Stosh's, and then he had like an Italian restaurant in the same location. There was all sorts of things going on, and then it abruptly closed.
Gotcha. Yeah.
That was too bad, but I miss Stosh's. And what surprises me, I never really knew what Stosh's last name was. It was like Jacobson.
Okay, yeah.
I thought it would be something else, but anyway, I just wanted to share that with you guys.
Well, I'll throw a couple questions out there, quiz questions, and we'll give away a few books here. I guess maybe the best way is if you type it in, the answer, then we'll see it. The first person that gets it right, we'll get it. And if nobody's getting the answer, I'll give some hints so that somebody gets it right. Okay. All right, here we go. This is for a copy of No Ketchup. Okay. Alrighty. Who claims to have invented the chili cheese dog? Anybody? You want to type it in or call it out? Alrighty, I'm not seeing anything coming up, so I'm going to give you a hint. Okay. Who claims to have invented the chili cheese dog? It's the same guy who does the mother-in-law and the mighty dog.
Fat Johnny's.
Yes. Who was it? Who got that answer?
Jay.
Okay, Jay. And Jay, you know what? Do me a favor too. I'm going to throw out my email to everybody. Okay. Shoot me an email with your address, and I'll send you the book.
Okay.
But, yeah, my email is Dennis with 2 N's. So Dennis Foley 55, Dennis Foley 55 at yahoo.com. Okay.
Okay,
All right, here we go with number
thank
2.
you.
Sure. This one, it's going to be your choice. The Memoir of the Drunkard's Son, the story collection by Chicago writers, We Speak Chicagoese, or The Blue Circus, which people are looking at right now as a, a potential TV pilot. So here we go. Next question from the quiz in the book. If the current president of the United States came to Chicago to get a hot dog, to what hot dog joint would he likely not go?
Oh, the Wiener Circle for sure.
Wiener Circle.
Yes, yes. Now, did you see the, because they had a sign out there at one point, the Trump dog.
You're so small.
Yeah, 3-inch special.
Yeah.
But they also had one recently, Hunter Biden buys his Coke here. Okay. So they'll always have some kind of politically incorrect something on their
Equal
sign.
opportunity.
So, and who was that again that got Wiener Circle?
I think it was me.
Yeah. Okay. So, in case you didn't jot that down, it's Dennis Foley 55 at yahoo.com. Just shoot me your name and address. And which book would you like of the 3 left?
I'd like the story collection.
Yeah, the Chicagoese.
Yes.
Okay, real good. And by the way, as you can see here, the Chicagoese, you see the it says stories and poems by Chicago writers. It's like under an L track. That's the parking lot to Byron's at on Irving Park. So, yeah. All right. Okay, next question. I mentioned this name a little bit earlier today. At what hot dog joint / sandwich shop is the lady who runs the counter known as Mama?
Broncos.
Broncos, who was that?
That was me on the iPad. I'm Kathy.
Okay, Kathy. All
But
right.
also, there's another one where there's a mama, and it happens to be Poochie's sister, and she runs the counter at Red Hot Ranch on Ashland Avenue in Chicago.
Oh, okay. She goes by Mama as well?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
That's a great place.
Yep. Yeah, so you have the email that I was giving out?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And I'm a public defender, just so you know.
Oh, okay. Well, as a former state's attorney, we could go have some battles one day, huh?
And have a hot dog too.
There we go. Hey, your choice. So a memoir of the drunkard's son, a novel, City of Chicago, the Blue Circus.
I'll take the Blue Circus, please. Thank you.
Blue Circus. Okay, when you send me the email, guys, just remind me which book you were getting to again, okay?
I will. Thank you very much for
Sure.
doing this.
Oh, this has been fun. The last one on here. As a youngster, this hot dog fanatic once had the goal of running for mayor of Chicago. Who is this crazy person? I'm going to give you a hint.
Oh, I
Dick
think
Portillo.
You,
Who said you first?
Kathy, the public defender. I'll send the book. I'll pass it to somebody else because I've
Okay.
already gotten one to have it
Yeah.
fair.
Okay, who else? Who else then? We have Ann Farrell. Okay, Ann, if you can send me an email to dennisfoley55 at yahoo.com, we'll get you a copy of this book as well. A last one I'm throwing in as a bonus just because it's a little fun. Last one. So I had the opportunity to write a screenplay 5 years ago. It was filmed here in Chicago on the South Side primarily. Richard Roper, when it was screened, gave it 3 stars and did it had it on the cover of the weekend edition for the Sun Times, and then had a nice review in there. It's called Not a Stranger. This is just it's available on Amazon and stuff now, but it went to the film festivals and won a couple of awards, but it came out and was distributed as of 2018. But I still have I bought some DVDs years ago to give out to people who help support the project. So I have an extra here. was really cool. We had 3 young actors that were in there. I don't know if you guys, that face of the man there, when you see him, you'll know him. Okay. And his name is James Russo. He's been in about 100 different movies. He does a lot of Johnny Depp movies because he's, his Johnny Depp is the godfather for one of his sons. He's the godfather for one of Johnny Depp's sons. So he's been in like Django Unchained. He's been in like one of my favorite mob movies, Donnie Brasco. So he's part of that crew in there. He was in, Fast Times at Ridgemont High many, many years ago. So you'll recognize that face. So he was the lead actor in this. He's typically, plays a supporting role, but he got to be the lead. So I'm going to throw a question at you from the old Streets and Sandman book. Okay. How many city electricians does it take to screw in a light bulb?
3.
12.
3. I got a 3 and I got a 12. Okay. All right. No, but hey, the person with 3 was getting close. Someone has, it depends.
5.
Oh, John has, it depends, but I'm going with 4, he says. You're
There's
right.
there's a great Jewish mother joke about that.
Yeah,
How
so
many
this
Jewish
one
mothers
goes,
does it take?
yeah, this one,
Is fine.
the 4 goes like this, okay? 1 electrician to hold the light bulb on the ladder, 2 guys to turn the ladder, and 1 guy to go ahead and issue the instructions as the foreman. So 4 city electricians to screw in a light bulb. So John, make sure you shoot me email to dennisfoley55@yahoo.com, and we'll get you the DVD for that movie. And I hope you enjoy it. But
By the way, I don't want to overlook somebody, but Ingrid, you had a question. Did you change your mind? Well, she's there, but she didn't ask. Okay, well, we'll let it go. This was terrific.
yeah,
This was so much fun.
I hope everybody had some fun. It's always good
Oh, yeah.
talking about hot dogs.
Absolutely. And you know what? I moderate a food website, and we have no politics, no religion. But what we didn't realize, those that founded that organization, there's politics in hot dogs, pizza, barbecue, whatever. Because it's like whatever you grew up eating, that's what you love, and you'll fight to the death.
There you go.
Thank you so much. This was
Yeah, well,
terrific.
thanks. And once again, thanks to everybody for coming out. I had fun. Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you. And now we go on to the show of shows.
Yes.
Thanks
All
again,
right.
guys.
Good night,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Good night.
Bye now.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're
Have a good night.
welcome.